What exactly causes people to be trans, according to science? This is an extremely controversial topic. So for the sake of this video, we will be recording the things we do know, the things that aren't disputed by people and are widely agreed upon. And then at the end of the video, I'll be giving my own personal opinions on these matters. Now, in order to answer this question, we have to cover a few things, being the hormonal side of things, and the neurological aspect to it, and environmental influences. Let's begin with hormones. If you watched my previous video on why people are gay, I touch on the same information, except I accidentally left out some key information, which I will be covering right now. Now, as we talk about hormones, we will specifically touch on prenatal hormones that you are exposed to while you're inside of the womb. You see, while we're inside of the womb, we're exposed to androgens, which play a significant role in our behavior later in life. Males typically are exposed to higher levels of testosterone, while for females, it's typically lower levels. But for both sexes, if you are exposed to higher levels of testosterone in the womb, it can be a predictor of atypical behavior later in life. However, unless we measure at the time of when you're in the womb, there's no way of directly measuring your prenatal testosterone levels. As a result, scientists today, they have to go by proxies, these being your D2, which is your index pointer finger, and your D4, which is your ring finger. Males typically have longer ring fingers than index fingers, while females typically have a lower ratio where it is at equal length. These higher levels of prenatal testosterone, they correlate to a long ring finger that is shorter to an index finger, while a longer index finger to ring finger correlates to higher levels of estrogen. These are predictors for not only behavior, but can be for sexual interest later in life. Though keep in mind, I said can be, because it's simply more complicated than that. But if you're skeptical of me, here's Andrew Huberman, who's a neuroscientist.
It is the case that the D2 to D4 ratio is greater in self-reported females than it is in males. What does that mean? It means that digit D2 and D4 are more similar in length in females than in males, and the effect is particularly pronounced on the right hand. If you look at the finger length ratios of men that self-report as homosexual, they have either the typical male pattern of D2 to D4 ratio or a hyper-masculinized D4 to D2 ratio. Now, this can't be something that's established or modified by behavior. This has to be something that was established in utero, and in fact, it's present at birth. But this is a case of hormones impacting what really should be considered a primary sexual characteristic, because it doesn't show up in puberty, it shows up before puberty, it's actually established in utero. People that self-report as lesbians also tend to have a smaller D2 to D4 ratio. And it points to the fact that early exposure to androgens may have an impact on sexual preference.
Having an extra long ring finger are predictors for both homosexuality and for being transgender. These higher levels of prenatal testosterone don't just exclusively predict homosexuality or being transgender, but a whole list of other behaviors as well, such as agreeableness, dominance, aggression, or the lack of thereof. And this alone is an extremely fascinating thing. You could make a video just talking about this by itself. However, there is more to cover, so we're going to have to move on. The next topic we will cover is our brains. If you take a look at a male and a female brain, by itself, there's hardly any difference. You wouldn't be able to distinguish them very well. However, if you examine the neural pathways, this isn't the case anymore. Male and female brains are typically very different. This accounts for uniquely different behaviors much of the time. An interesting aspect is individuals who report as trans have brains that are typical of the opposite sex. The differences are female brains typically have stronger connections between both hemispheres. Male brains tend to have connections that go up and down instead of left and right. This is why women excel better at things such as multitasking and also verbalizing their emotions, while men, they struggle to do that. Though men are better at things such as facial awareness and focusing at one thing at a time. There's a whole host of other behaviors too, but generally it's just your stereotypical male and female behavior that is observed with the brains. Now, this is going to make a lot of people angry. You may even hear some people respond with, the differences in these neural pathways are strictly environmental. It is our environment shaping our brains to be different. Men and women aren't just born differently. It's not due to our biology. It's only because boys and girls are raised differently. This, frankly, is stupid. If this was true, you could simply raise a trans man like a woman, and they would stop being trans altogether. Trans people, for the most part, would cease to exist, because you could just raise them as their biological sex, and those differences would disappear. In fact, by that logic, you wouldn't even have masculine women or feminine men if they were simply raised like other boys or girls. Yet that isn't happening. So no, it isn't simply environmental. You are born more masculine or feminine. It happens not at birth, but before birth. However, it would be an absurd thing to claim that the environment plays no role in shaping our behavior or who we are. In fact, it is safe to say, especially for trans individuals, it plays a significant role. Now, can I tell you exactly what this might entail? No, I can't. Yet I can tell you why I'm positive it does play a significant role. We have to go back to the things we previously covered, being the prenatal androgens and the neural pathways. Those are not exclusively the case for people who are trans. These are also true for gay men and women, and even individuals who are neither gay nor trans. Hence, it can lead to you becoming trans or gay, but it does not exclusively lead to it. Neither are the neurological differences in the brain that we see in gay or trans individuals. You have plenty of straight men out there who display more feminine behavior than the average man, and plenty of women out there who are straight that are simply more masculine. Editor's note: if you're angry that I'm using the term straight instead of cisgender, which is what you use to refer to people whose gender aligns with their biological sex, I don't give a fuck. The problem is, nothing we can find exclusively is a predictor for why people are trans. The predictors we mentioned lead to a whole host of other behaviors, including masculine straight women, feminine straight men, and even autistic people. Flat out, that explains all atypical behavior. So while we can't pinpoint anything exactly to why people are gay or trans, these things we just covered really help to reveal insights on these things. But again, this is only a piece to the puzzle. Now, everything I just stated, it's widely agreed upon and relatively undisputed. If you watch other videos, they will talk about these exact same things, but perhaps in less detail. However, going forward, what I'm about to state is simply my own opinion. I want to draw a clear, separate distinction between these two, because you could disagree with me at the end of the day. I could be wrong, but I want you to walk away with the valuable information I just gave you. Nobody disagrees really with what I just said. But hey, you can feel free to disagree with what I say right now. I don't take it personally. I take no offense to people just having different opinions than me or disagreeing with me. I'm fine by that. But personally, I don't believe transitioning is the best route to take. And I believe there are better solutions out there. Because people who self-identify as trans, they really do face unique struggles. They are different as a whole. I don't think people can or should deny that. You can't just tell people, be like everybody else. To them, in my opinion, they truly do need support and help. As I mentioned before, they are different neurologically speaking. They don't fit well into these groups that they were born into, if that means being a man or a woman. Now, while I believe all of this, I don't think this is a healthy route they should be taking in their lives. If we were to examine what is happening right now to any other set of behaviors, which is they're not happy with the way they're born. Now, this might not be reflective of all people who are trans, but so many just hate their bodies. It's painful to read this. What they're going through right now, I just can't even imagine that. And hating your body, especially to that extent, is not healthy at all. And neither is the way they are trying to cope and deal with this. It's not a healthy coping mechanism to physically resist your body and society at large. Now people are going to give a lot of pushback to this. They're going to say this is due to things like bullying and abuse from society in general that causes these mental health problems and high suicide rates. And I would say, of course, that is undoubtedly a factor. But given how the rates are so extremely high, this is just a lazy and insufficient answer for such high risk to these problems. Bullying is said to increase the risk of suicide 2 to 9 times, which is a lot. But when you consider how low it is in general, it never comes close to 50%, at least attempted suicide. They are flat out depressed, unhappy, and they oftentimes go through abuse. They hate their bodies. Why do you think they're willing to go through HTR or surgery? A person who embraces their authentic self does not seek to alter or change their natural state of being. Why would someone go through plastic surgery? Generally, the reason for it would be because you do not accept your face. You are unhappy with it. Now, if your face becomes disfigured and you're attempting to change that, that is different. You're attempting to revert it back to its original state. But this isn't the case. If you accept anything, you don't resist to change it or attempt to change it. Which is odd because some people make the claim that undergoing this, going through surgery or taking HTR is a way of accepting who you are. But if you were to apply this logic to literally anything else, it would be labeled as unhealthy. Body dysphoria being one, for example. Do people with body dysphoria have it just as hard? No. But they're both unwell. And people will say this. They will use this to attack trans people. I'm not using it that way. I'm strictly using this in the sense that we need to help and support these people. And I believe the way we're approaching this currently is wrong long term. Sure, the data will show that when you undergo things like HTR, they are very happy in the moment. And they will be for quite some time. But nobody should be shocked by this, considering this is just the effects of the pharmaceutical drugs to begin with. And the same effects apply to literally anyone else who undergoes them. They aren't happy because they're actually solving any of their problems. My personal opinion is, we should give them special care and love and to help integrate them into their gender that they were born into. But they should also, within that group, learn to accept their differences. They're not going to perfectly fit in. Feminine guys are a thing out there. Masculine women are a thing out there. And being different like that will make it hard and challenging sometimes for you to fit into your groups. Yet they are still your groups and where you should reside in. And although I shouldn't have to say this, you shouldn't be bullied or hated for just being different. Yes, you are different. But at the same time, that does not mean you're the opposite gender, or that transitioning is the best thing for you long term. Regardless of what you do though, I wish you the best. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out one of my previous videos, one being why people are gay according to science. And that video is less polished, especially when it comes to editing, but you'll enjoy that one if you enjoyed this one. It has some information I didn't include into this video. Anyways, take care.